Hi, everyone. My guest today is Carrie Green, and Carrie is a speaker, an international best-selling author, and a coach. However, she did spend 15 years on Wall Street in marketing and product development for major brokerage firms and the New York Stock Exchange before she left to start her own business shortly after 9/11. She is an expert in marketing, sales, messaging, and the mindset behind living life your way. Welcome, Carrie. How are you?
I am doing really wonderful today, and it is such a pleasure to be with you here. I know we worked hard to get this interview on the calendar, and I'm glad we were able to make it happen.
Yeah, me too. It's so interesting to meet. I meet fascinating people, luckily for me, when I go all these wonderful places. And Carrie is one of the people that I met at an event I go to, and she is so successful as a coach. It's unbelievable. And so I wanted to ask you, Carrie, you had this successful career on Wall Street, which is a whole different ballgame. Why did you decide to leave and start your own business?
It's I always look back on it. Now I guess it's what gosh, I can't believe it already. It's 14 years already, something like that since I left, 13 years. And I had some really, really good jobs. I was at the New York Stock Exchange for 10 years. I worked in their marketing and really their new listings division. And then I was with a company called Daytech Online, where it was an amazing atmosphere. We had so much fun there. Everyone was really young. I was the old lady, and this goes back 15 years ago. I had young children at home, and I was the old lady there. And we all played and we all had ideas, and it was really great. And really, what happened to me started with 9/11. We were located physically on the Hudson River, on the New Jersey shore, in Jersey City, New Jersey. And looking out my window to my right, I could see the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan. And on the morning of 9/11, I happened to look up from my desk and watch as the first plane came toward me really and came toward the World Trade Center. And I watched as that plane flew into the building, crashed into the building. And I turned to my boss, who was sitting right near me, and I said to him, Larry, a plane just hit the Trade Center. And he looked across the river and he said to me, that's Cantor Fitzgerald. Chris and I were there yesterday.
Mm.
And I watched that entire day. My world fell apart around me. Literally, just watched it all crumble. I used to work in the trade center. I When I worked for the stock exchange for a couple of years, I was there. And over the course of the day, we were really rescuing and helping the people who were coming across from New York into New Jersey. They came across on ferries, on boats, on water taxis, any way they could get out of New York City. And we were at the pier, so we were helping them in any way we could. We'd give them water, we gave them food from our candy machines, we brought them to telephones. And there was one woman that I was bringing to a phone. And gosh, at the time guess how old was she? She was probably around 60-ish. And she said to me that here, here she is. She's a survivor from World War II, lived in Nazi Germany. And she said when the Trade Center fell, she felt like she was back there. She hit the ground. It was like the bombs coming back down. And really, what 9/11 became to me was the beginning of the end. And about a year later, my company, the business I was working for, Daytech Online, was taken over. And we were taken over by a firm located in Omaha, Nebraska. And at the time, it wasn't in the cards for me to move to Omaha. It wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't where I wanted to be or where I wanted to raise my children or to uproot them or anything else. And I realized that I had to find a different way. And they say you get like the little hint and then you get hit by the 2x4. That was
Right.
my 2x4. Like it was
Well,
time to go.
it's funny because when I think 9/11 changed, of course, everybody in some way, shape, or form. It changed everybody. And when something like that happens, I think it gets you to reevaluate your life. It reevaluates what you're doing, why you're doing it. And then, of course, on top of that, your company was relocated. So I don't blame you for not wanting to uproot, your family or anyone else. And it's very interesting how circumstances make you fall into these different positions. So you decided to give up your job and live regret free. Is that what happened?
Yeah,
Uh,
it was a process for me. It's a process for everyone. And I speak to a lot of it. Most of my clients are business owners. And for a lot of us, there's something that says, now it's time. Now I'm going to do it. And I was looking at a situation. My children at the time, my daughter was in third grade, I believe, or maybe she was in fourth grade. And my boys, Josh and Eric, are twins, and they were in second grade. And I was looking at the situation, and to me, it was either find a new job, and Wall Street was kind of crazy then, shortly after 9/11, but I could have found something, or I would have found something at some point. So I was find a new job and continue doing what I was doing. We had a nanny at home who we adored, who was making sure there was food on our table and our kids were getting to school when they needed to. Or I could do something else. And the thought of going back to work or not even so much to work, it's not that I don't work today, I just work very differently. The thought of getting another job and commuting back into the city or even commuting to Jersey City and not being there for me to raise my children and to be there for my family was just, it was not going to work anymore. And I realized that for me, and I've been doing a lot of soul searching on this lately for myself also, but for me, leaving my job, leaving Wall Street was about survival. And I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't report to anybody anymore. I couldn't do it somebody else's way. And the career that I've created for myself has been very much about my family. What does my family need from me? How could I support my family? How could I help my kids? How can I be there for my kids? And, at the time, our nanny, who we adored, wasn't real good at third grade math. Third grade math wasn't that hard, but how do you get the kid to do the third grade math? That was where the trick came in. And it was, how do we make sure to instill my values and my husband's values into our children and into our family and have the support that we wanted in our life, and managing in some way, shape, or form to earn money, because taxes where I live in northern New Jersey are absolutely insane. So, it was a combination of things that helped me to decide now's the time and there has to be a way to do it. So it all kind of came together in that.
It's interesting, Carrie, because, I think that was probably all part of that reevaluation process after 9/11. And the interesting thing is, I read your newsletter and so forth, so I understand you spend a lot of time still with family. Yep. I know that you love to cook and bake, which is something I do not do at all. I microwave well, but I do not cook and I do not bake. And this is interesting because my mom was, oh my God, my mom was a wonderful cook and a wonderful baker, and my grandmother was too. And so, but I don't do any of those things. And you really do combine family and work and enjoyment, because you like the nature. You love to go out and walk and hike and do things like that. And so you have created what we call the living regret-free life, even though, look, we all have issues that come into our life. You have issues and problems every day, just like we all do. But it's living life on your own terms that allows you to really negotiate those areas. So how did you finally decide what you wanted to do?
Oh, it's always a journey, isn't it, Gail, right?
Right.
I could promise you that the day I left Daytech Online, which was October 31st, 2002, I guess, I did not say, oh, this is what I want to be when I grow up. Yeah, I absolutely did not say that. In fact, for me, a lot of it was running away from everything that Wall Street represented. It was running away from everything I knew. Actually, it's kind of strange. Forget the fact that I started a business and had to do it all, but in my mind, it was run away from marketing, run away from business, run away from a degree in economics, run away from that, run away from finance, run away from everything that represented, and find something else to do. When I first started my business, and I don't know that if you know this, if you've been following me long enough, I don't know that you have been, but I started as a professional organizer. And that goes back way, way, way long ago. And it was the first days of those reality TV shows and those organize on a mission or design on a dime or whatever they were. And I thought it was going to be easy. Oh my goodness, it is one of the hardest things that you can do. And if you're a professional organizer, I give you so much credit because that is the hardest thing. But what I started to find as I was working with my clients is that I could help them organize a closet, but a week later, it wasn't organized anymore. Or something else was going on underneath it all. And through that, I found the coaching. And one of my clients, an organizing client, once said to me, Carrie, I need you to become an ADD coach. I'm like, well, why? And she's like, I think I need one and you'd be really good at it. And that's kind of what happened to me. It's like, I kept falling forward into the different things that I touched. So I went from being a professional organizer to an attention deficit disorder coach, and then started not so much focusing on the ADD, but on the productivity and the time management and all those things that went under it. And finally, through one of my coaches, she finally yelled at me and said, Carrie, you have a degree in economics. By that point, I had probably been in business like 7 or 8 years or something like that. Every year had been profitable and not always making what I wanted to be making, but every year had been profitable. I was doing marketing. I was doing sales. And she said to me, Carrie, you're a business coach. Please own it. And that's when I started to bring in the marketing and the sales and kind of negotiating with myself that it was okay to go back to what I had used and what I had learned and who I was back on Wall Street, and that it wasn't a toxic place for me anymore.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. I'm very organized in one way, but I'm not very organized in another. I mean, I love paper, and paper seems to just grow up around me. I said the only thing that grows up around me without food and water is paper. I mean, it just grows and grows and grows, But it's interesting because even as a business owner and even as a coach, you continually morph into these other situations and into other arenas. And I think that's a key because you looked around and said, what would I be good at? What could I do? And you took some time to decide that. But in answering other people, what would you say is the most important thing that you need to consider when choosing how to live?
So let me go back to that for a second, Gail, if I could. It does continue to morph constantly. And I really think that in many, many ways, the things that we become interested in, and someone like me who works with other business owners and other people to figure out what it is they want, it's almost like they're helping me on my own journey. Just yesterday, I was having a conversation with my own coach. And for me, when I first left Wall Street, it was that survival. The reason I went into business then and stayed in business all of these years has been family, has been how can I understand, how could I be there for my kids? How could I have the flexibility I want to go on the field trips and all that? And now I'm really looking at it again. And my clients are looking at it again also, which is so fascinating. It just gets so twisted up. And now I'm looking at it again and I'm saying, well, my kids are pretty much grown up. My sons are 20. My daughter's 22. The excuse I used, why do I want to be in business, is gone. So, it's about finding again, who am I? Who do I want to be? And figure out how to